Okay, so AF, I like AF, but I think they're pretty overrated and they don't have very interesting weather. And this is just gonna be a me personally thing, so like how personally, how much I would like to be in that climate. Not necessarily how objectively important they are, because all of the climates are important in stabilizing the earth. I'm gonna bump it up to a D there. Okay, so monsoon I like more because they're more interesting and it can be just as wet as a rainforest, but like has more interesting weather because it has wet and dry season. Okay, so for the savannas, I'm gonna put it in the same level as C tier because I think they're interesting, but they're also super dry. Hot steppe. I do think the shrublandy, Mediterranean-y type things are really interesting. So I'm going to put it on the same level as the savanna because it's basically the same thing but a little bit drier and more shrubby. So as for a hot desert, I would absolutely hate living there, but they are super important. So I was thinking maybe I could put them at a D tier. But probably an E tier because I just think they're pretty bad to live in. Not that they're not important. Okay, so for a cold desert, more interesting, so I'm going to put it on the same level as a tropical rainforest. For a cold steppes are absolutely beautiful, so I am going to put it on a B tier. Okay. Okay, so for CFA climates, I think they're kind of like crappy because like they have oppressive summers. But they do sometimes have cold winters, which is interesting. I don't know if that rating is unfair. I love CFB climates because they're like nice and mild and pretty. Because there's like nice meadows and forests and sometimes temperate rainforests. I think CFC is super underrated because it's like almost tundra, subpolar, hyperoceanic zone. So I think that's really nice. And also they kind of remind me of like the Southern Ocean and Iceland and like the North Sea, which are really nice places. I've moved up CFA because I thought the rating was a bit unfair. I love CSB, and I'm going to put CSA on the same level as tropical. I think CSC are also super underrated because like they basically don't exist. But I'm still going to put it there. Okay, CWA underrated, but okay. CWB, I absolutely love them as like a highland subtropical setting because they're beautiful and they grow lots of nice plants. And also like they are like one of the best environments for plants to grow in general. I'm actually going to move up CWB. DFA is great, but the summers are a bit hot. DFB is great because the summers aren't as hot. DFC, you gotta love it. It's a taiga, like the biggest forests on Earth. Gotta love it. DFD, I think, is interesting for the sole purpose of the obscene temperature ranges in a single year, which are not found anywhere on Earth. They're called hypercontinental climates. DSA underrated as hell because it's like a hot summer Mediterranean, but it also gets cold in the winter, and like it reminds me of Turkey or Turkiye, which is really nice. Also reminds me of like the firs in like the mountains in like Caucasia and Turkey and Iran, which are really nice. DWA is a really nice sort of like Beijing-ish climate. At least it gets cold in the winter, but it's still not like a great climate. DWB is better because it reminds me of like the mountains in like Korea and Japan, which are really nice. DWC is another great one because it's like a taiga, but it doesn't get that much snow, which has a ton of interesting adaptations. DWD is also awesome because it's almost exclusively found in Northeast Asia. I think there's like one other place in, I think, northern Canada that has it, but it's actually a DFD,